Hello students, so here I am with JEE Main Test 84 Physics Analysis. This paper was one of the toughest one I have seen right now. I can rate it 8 as tough, out of which 2 have wrong answers, 2 have very long calculations, and 3 were only straightforward. I can say 14 were medium. So this paper might be nightmare for many. So it's tough to predict, but still for an average student I say 40 would be a very good score, and for very good students I think 70-75 would be good enough. But yes, this paper is actually. So let's begin. A ball of mass m going with velocity v strikes the bob of a pendulum at rest. The mass of the bob is also same m. If the collision is perfectly inelastic, the height to which the bob will rise is. Okay, so see this, and this was the pendulum bob, and here's the bullet that strikes with velocity v. This is m. So because it is a perfectly inelastic collision, what I can say, just after collision both will go with velocity. Let's say I should say this is v at bottom point, let's say vb, and this mass would be 2m. So simple applying momentum conservation just before and after, because right now in the horizontal direction there is no force that has been acted. So m into v plus 0 would be equals to 2m into vb. So the velocity at the bottom point of the combined system would be v by 2, sorry, not m by 2, it is going to be v by 2. Now the maximum height you can directly go by energy conservation, that would be equal to vb square by 2g, that would be equal to v square by 8g in this case. So go for option A, that is the right answer. Next, a horizontal disk is rotating with angular speed omega about a vertical axis through its center. Ball is placed at a center of groove and pushed slightly. The velocity of the ball when it comes out of the groove is. So when it comes out of the groove is, you have to find the velocity. So how you can find the velocity? So the best thing is, let's say take any position like this, when let's say it has gone by distance x. So in this particular position, if I draw this FBD with respect to disk, if I draw this velocity, because my idea would be the velocity of what we can say ball would be velocity of ball in frame of disk plus velocity of disk point at it which it would be leaving it. So first of all, here in the frame of the disk it will experience a pseudo force that you called as m omega square, and this would be the radius r, m omega square r, like this. And what we have, this is horizontal, so no mg and need to be drawn because they are not in this direction. So along this particular direction only this component will come. So if I call it theta, this would be theta. So the force acting would be m omega square r cos theta, that is equal to ma, and I can write it as v dv by dx. Now what is r cos theta? If I do this r cos theta from this diagram, this is x. So m omega square x is equal to mv dv by dx. So now what we have got, v dv is equal to omega square x dx. So do the integration. So the initial is 0, final is, let's say, v, or I can say it vbd, and this is from 0 to, I can say this is r root 3 r by 2, that would be r square minus 3r square by 4 under root, that is r by 2. So that is from r by 2. This is the distance it has to travel in this particular case. So what we will have now, let me check this. Yes, it is r by 2. So vbt square by 2 is equal to omega square x square by 2, that would be r square by 4, and it is 1 by 2, 2 goes. So vbd comes out as omega r by 2, and this omega r by 2 is this is velocity of ball with respect to disk, and velocity of this disk point would be like this, and this velocity you can say is omega r. And going by the logic, because it is root 3 r by 2, I can, if I let's say do this angle that we have talked about, let's say, let me talk about this angle theta. So this is let's say alpha, so this is alpha, this will be alpha. So this alpha angle that I can talk about would be what it would be. Sine alpha is root of 3 by 2, that means alpha is 60 degree. So this angle is 90 plus 60 is 150. That means these two vectors are at 150 degree. So velocity of ball would be vbd square plus vd square plus 2 vbd vd cos 150 degree under root. So if you do this, what you are getting, omega square r square by 4 plus omega square r square plus 2, this would be omega square r square, because and 2 will cancel, so omega square r square, cos 150 cos 30, that is minus root 3 by 2. Okay, so what we are left with, omega r I can take as common, it would be, it is 150, yes, seems to be 150, yes, 60 is sin alpha, yes. So what we are left with, 1 by 4 plus 1 minus root 3 by 2. So option is correct. What they have done, they have taken this angle alpha to be wrong and 30 degree, and they have solved by 120 degree. So as per this, I don't think any of this option will come, so for me it's not right. Next, question number 3. There are two solenoids of same length and inductance L, but the diameters differ to the extent that one can just fit into the other. Okay, they are connected in 3 different ways. In series, they are connected in series but separated by a large distance. Connected in series with one inside the other in the sense of the turns coinciding. Both are connected in series with one inside the other with senses of the turn opposite as depicted in the figure. The total inductance of the solenoid in each of the cases 1, 2 and 3 respectively is. Now this is going to be a tough one. You can see the first photo is a regular series combination. So in first photo you can directly say L is L1 plus L2, that is, if we can say it is L, if inductance L, so this L equivalent would be, let's say, 2L in the first one. Now in the second and third, the formula that you will use is, because here there the mutual inductance will also come up, so the formula you will use is L1 plus L2 plus 2 times the mutual inductance between them. Now in the first, because they are in the same sense and they are perfectly coupled, the flux would exactly be same. So because of perfect coupling, M is equal to L. So what we can say, that L equivalent would be L plus 2 times L, that comes out as 4L. So this is 2L and 4L. So from this, what is the option that we are left with? We are 2L and 4L. Okay, I have not written the D1, it doesn't come in the screenshot as 2L not, 4L not, 0. So we are left with only the D1, and let's see the last one also. Here also it is perfect coupling, but because the senses are opposite, here it would be, instead of plus, it would become negative because it is opposite sense, and hence what we will have, it would be L1 plus L2 minus 2L naught thing will minus 2L come. So in the third case, the equivalent will come out to be 0. So we'll go for option D. So again, it's a tough one because this is not the formula generally students remember or are asked to remember in that way. There are very few questions which come on this particular concept. So it's again a tough one for you. Next, dipole is in a electric field of uniform intensity E, P, MII. It is slightly displays the angular frequency. You know directly in this case time period is 2 pi under root I upon PE. So angular frequency is PE upon I. So that's an easy one for you. That is the derivation you do even for your CBSE examinations. Next, a hypothetical planet in the shape of a sphere is completely made up of an incompressible fluid, has a mass m and radius r. If the pressure at the surface of planet is 0, then the pressure at the center of the planet is. Such type of question came in JEE 2015 advanced, I can recollect. So it's a very nice question, and frankly speaking, at that time I didn't had any idea how to solve it, but one of my student, when I saw his paper, he was able to do this. That's another thing, that the student got a rank under 300, I suppose, in the JEE advanced. Now, a hypothetical planet in the shape of a sphere is completely made up of an incompressible fluid. Now what it will happen here, just look at it. Let's say you go at any distance, let's say x here, and take a small strip dx. So if you see this complete thing, what you will have, because of this gravity and everything, it will try to come up. So the internal pressure will push it up. So definitely if the pressure here is P, it would be P plus dP inside. So the pressure would be more inside. So what I can make it out, the difference of the pressure, I can say dP, or generally what you say with increasing x, if you are going to write, so let's say write it as P and this is P plus dP, but I know dP would be negative. So I can directly say that minus dP will exert a force into 4 pi x square, that is area, and that would be balanced by the gravitational attraction. And gravitational attraction, you will be writing it as, if you are using that earth analogy, we know the force, I can write it, the mass, that dm would be, the dm would be written as rho into 4 pi x square, you can write, that is rho into 4 pi x square dx, that is the dm mass I can write. And the gravitational field, the value of the gravitational field inwards, that I can write at a distance x, like assuming like the gravity one, I can write it as 4 by 3 pi rho g r. Let's say I can write it as x here also. So what we are left with here, so this 4 pi x square I can cancel up. I can simply say this minus dp by dx, that I can write as what I left with 4 by 3 pi rho square g. That is what I can write. So this is the pressure variation. So what I can say, this is minus dp 4 by 3 pi rho square g, keep it there only dx. So if I have to let's say go, so this is p inside or p at the center to final is 0, that would be x will vary from 0 to what I can say 0 to r. So it would be 0 minus minus, that is pressure at center, that would be equal to 4 by 3 pi rho square g into r. And what is this rho square? I can put it out here as, okay, this was x also, I missed it, sorry. So it would be r square by 2 here, so r square by 2. So what it is, this 2 by 3 pi gr square, rho is what, mass upon 4 pi 3 by 3 pi r cube to the power 2. So it comes out as, if I do this, this would be 3 by 2, I can make it out 3 by 16 and 2, so that would be 3 by 8, and it would be pi, 1 pi would be cancelled, I suppose, that is g m square to the power r to the power 4. So what we are getting, option A. So it's a very nice question, just doing it is not that easy, but this is a question asked in JEE Advanced, but it was not directly as that, it was in some other form asked it there. Next, a 2 meter long wire resistance 4 ohm and diameter 0.64 mm is coated with plastic insulation of this thickness. When a current of 5 amperes flow through the wire, find the temperature difference across the insulation in the steady state. You have to find the temperature difference across the insulation in the steady state. So it would be like, this is the wire, this is the resistance, and it is coated by some insulating coat. So this is that insulation that I am talking about. So in this insulation, the heat would be flowing like this, radial flow. So first of all, what is the power generated? The power generated, that you call as heat flowing per unit time, H you denote, that is I square, R that you write as the current is 5 square, that is 25 into 4, that is 100 watt. So 100 watt power is being generated here every moment. Now what is this 100 watt would be doing? This 100 watt we can say will be transferred radially, so that would be equal to, directly I can write it as the result that you generally write as H is delta T by R, and this is the thermal resistance RH of this cylindrical one. So for the cylinder, if I remember the RH formula, if you have derived somewhere, I think it comes out as ln of B by A, that is outer upon inner. So here I can say B by A, here this will be A and this will be B, outer one, upon 2 pi K, you can write 2 pi K L, that is what we write, 2 pi K L, L is the length. That is the formula that we typically use. So going by this, what we will have, so what we can directly say now, the delta T term that I can say would be H is 100 into what we will have ln of B by A. What is B here? B would A is 0.64 by 2 because it is diameter, so it is 0.32, let's say 32, and this 6 is added, so it is 38. So ln of, sorry, I have written inverse, B is 38 and that is 32, so 38 by 32, 2 pi K, K is 0.16 into 10 to the power minus 2 calorie to joule, 4.2 per centimeter, that is 10 to the power minus 2 meter. The rest are fine. L is 2. So this is what we are going to solve. How I'll calculate ln of 38 by 32, I don't know. I can calculate ln 32, but how to calculate ln 38? Let's try. So what we are left with, this 10 to the power minus 2, 10 to the power minus 2 goes, this is 100, 2 and 2, let's say 4, so it is 25. So 25 upon 4.2 into 0.16 into 4.2 into pi, and it would be ln of 38 by 32. Now it's not easy how you will calculate ln of 38 by 32. They have not given any value. I don't know how they have solved. I think they perhaps had a calculator, but we don't have a calculator with us, so it's going to be a tough task for us. So it's because it's going to be a tough task for us, I'm using the calculator. Let me by solving from calculator, it comes out as 2 degrees Celsius. I don't know how they expect a student to do this without a calculator and with such close options. Bit better to not to do such questions in the exam. This paper seems to be too tough till now. Elastic ball is dropped on a long inclined plane. It bounces, hits the plane again, bounces, so on. Let us label the distance between the point of first and second it be d1, 2 and second and third be d2, 3. The ratio of d1, 2 and d2, 3 is okay. Elastic ball, it means it is talking of the elastic collision. I can make it out. So when it strikes it, let's say this was the initial velocity, that was u. Now when it strikes, so what we can say, I have to take this component with the normal, because this angle is theta. This line is normal to this one and that is normal to that one, that is theta. So what I can say, the normal component would be u cos theta, that would be reversing, and this component would be u sin theta. So this is u sin theta and this one would be, what I can say, would be equal to u cos theta. That is what it will be remaining like this. So it is u cos theta there, u sin theta here. So what we can do, I can directly make it out using the range result. The range result dv2, I can directly say would be ux. First of all, its time of hitting. Time of hitting will depend on 2u cos theta upon component of acceleration here. Component of acceleration here is g cos theta, that is 2u by g. So time is 2u by g, and by the logic it will we'll see what will happen. 2u by g, and d1, 2 would be u sin theta into t, that is 2u by g, and it would be plus half g sin theta, because acceleration would be g sin theta into t square, that is 2u by g whole square. So what is 2u square sin theta by g, and it becomes again what it becomes 4u square, and it will become 2u square sin theta by g. So it would be 4u square sin of theta by g. This is the distance d1, 2. I can get it here. Now when it strikes again, the component will be, now it would be differing. This component still would be u cos theta, but this component has changed. This component will now become u sin theta plus g sin theta into t. T was 2u sin theta by g. So now what it has become, it has become what we can say, g sin theta into 2u sin theta by g. So 2u by g, sorry, not sin theta by g, 2u by g, that was the time. So it is becoming thrice. So it is becoming 3u sin theta by g. So if I do this d2, 3, what it would be, the first term will become, instead of 2u square, it will become 6u square sin theta by g. Now the next one, 8th. A hanging block of mass m dash, sorry, this is m dash, prevents a smaller block of m from slipping over a movable block of mass m. All surfaces frictionless strings pulleys are light value of m dash in terms of this is. So first of all, it is not slipping. That means if it goes with a, this whole system also goes with acceleration a. So I can directly write acceleration is net pulling force. Net pulling force is only this much, that is m dash g upon total mass to be pulled, which is m dash plus m plus m. This is the acceleration. Now in frame of capital M, it is at rest. So when we view it in frame of M, I'll apply this pseudo force ma, and this would be mg, and this is n. And because it is not slipping, that means the component of mg here and ma here must balance. That is ma cos theta should be equal to mg sin theta. So from here what we make out, a cos theta is equal to g sin of theta. So what we are searching for, so acceleration is g tan theta. So m dash g upon m dash plus m, that is acceleration, is equal to g tan of theta. So what we are left with, gg goes, so m dash is m dash tan theta plus m tan theta, like this. So what we are left with, m dash 1 minus tan theta, yes, we are having 1 minus tan theta would be equals to m plus m tan of theta. So m dash is m plus m tan theta upon 1 minus tan theta. Options are in cot theta, so what I can do, divided tan theta by above and bottom side, it will become 1 upon tan theta, that is cot theta minus 1. So what we are left with? We are left with the first option. So option A would be the right here. Again, nicely designed question. Next, there is a stream of neutrons with a kinetic energy of 0.032C7 eV. Half-life of the neutron is 700 seconds. What fraction of neutrons will decay before they travel a distance of 10 meters? This is third time I am doing this question, and I have made this observation also. The options are not right because calculation is not going to be perfect, and here to make out such close options is not the thing. The way to do this is, first of all, energy half mv square is 0.0327 into 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19 joule. If you put it, the value comes out approximately as 2500 meter per second. Not exactly, they have assumed it to be exact. It is 2500 meter per second. So you calculate the time. Half-life is 700 seconds. So what is the time it spends in traveling 10 meter? That is 10 meter upon 2500 meter per second, which basically comes out as 4 into 10 to the power minus 3 seconds. Now in this time, the fraction that will decay, that is delta n by n naught, that you can say the decayed fraction, we can directly make it out. The remaining, will decay before they travel. So first of all, what is the fraction that will be decayed? So this time is very small as compared to half-life. So I can directly say that minus dn by dt is lambda n. So time is very small, so this is the number minus dn, that would be equals to lambda n dt. You can directly make it out. So lambda n dt, and then no need to put mod, minus dn is already positive. So lambda would be 0.693 upon t half, which is 700 into n. N is what you have, n by. So the fraction decaying would be, you need not to put it n here, you have to just minus dn by n into dt. Dt is 4 into 10 to the power minus 3, and if you solve it, they say this comes at 3.96 into 10 to the power minus 6. The options are very close and the calculations are not going to be perfect without a calculator. Next, the spring block system lies on a smooth horizontal surface. The free end of the spring is pulled towards the right with a constant speed v0. At t equal to 0 spring in the second, the spring is unstretched and the block has a speed 1 meter per second to the left. The maximum extension of the spring is going to be. Now this is again a very nice question. So what we do in this such a concept, because the speed is constant, I say view with respect to an observer who is also going here as 2 meter per second. So for that observer, this end is basically fixed, and the initial velocity of this becomes, with respect to this, becomes 3 meter per second. So with respect to that observer which is moving with constant velocity, so no acceleration pseudo force is needed. The situation is like this: spring is unstretched and the block is given a speed of 3 meter per second. So simply apply energy conservation. Loss in kinetic energy at maximum extension would be half m into 3 square would be equal to half k x max square. So what comes out as x max as root of m by k into 3. So root of m by k, m is what, 4, and k is what, 100 into 3, that is 2 by 10 into 3, that is what you have. You will have 2 by 3 into 10 into 3. Okay, it was 100 Newton per centimeter, so be careful, Newton per centimeter, that means it is 100 into 100. So it would be 10 into 10, so it would be 6 by 100 meters, so it is 6 centimeters. So go for option C. This is the way of doing this particular question. Next, the potential energy of a particle varies as this and this. Okay, for 0 to x2 less than 1, the de Broglie wavelength is lambda 1, and for x greater than 1 it is lambda 2. The total energy is 2 E naught. Find lambda 1. So since total energy is 2 E naught, for 0 to x to 1, I can directly make out kinetic energy would be equals to E naught, that is total energy minus U. So that de Broglie wavelength lambda 1 is equal to h by p, which is h upon root 2m E naught. This is the first. Now for x greater than 1, u is 0, that means k is complete to E naught. So lambda 2 will become, directly I can say, lambda 1 by root 2. There is no choice in it. So lambda 1 by lambda 2 is root 2. So question looks fancy, but it's an easy one. Next, glass capillary is in the shape of a truncated cone with an apex angle alpha, so that two ends have cross section of different radii. When dipped in water, the water rises at height h when the radius of its cross section is b. Okay, if the surface tension is S, its density is rho, contact angle is theta, then the value of h will be. Now this is the question from IIT JEE 2014. I can make it out. So what we do here, just see this truncated cone like this. Let's say this is be the meniscus shape. Let me draw it more clearly. and let's say this is the spherical meniscus that we talk about, and let's say this is the center and it would be radius r. So because contact angle is theta, I can draw this like this angle is theta, and let's say if I draw this horizontal, this angle, this is b. Now first of all, be very careful. If this angle is theta, this is between this and this, so this line is perpendicular to this line, and if I draw perpendicular to this angle will also be equal to theta, and because this is perpendicular to this, we know with the vertical it makes an angle alpha by 2. So this line is perpendicular to this one, and this horizontal is perpendicular to this one, so this will also be alpha by 2. So what I can make out in this triangle, if I draw it, this is r, this is b, and this angle comes out as theta plus alpha by 2. So first, using the geometry, we can make it out that this angle is theta plus alpha by 2. Now what we can do here, this is atmospheric pressure, let's say this pressure be P1. So what I can say, P0 minus P1 because of this meniscus would be equal to 2s by capital R. R is the radius of the meniscus. So hydrostatic pressure, this 2s by R, that should be equal to rho gh, that you can directly make it out, that is equal to rho gh. So what is R? Now what is R? R you have to calculate from here in terms of B. What I can write, cos of theta plus alpha by 2 equals B by R. So R can be written as B, and that goes up, cos of theta plus alpha by 2 equal to rho gh. So now from here h you can directly go for this option D, which I have not taken complete a screenshot, but this would be the option. 2s upon what we can write, rho g h, 2s upon rho gb, sorry, that is h is 2s upon rho gb cos of theta plus alpha by 2. So it's a very nice question, testing geometry, testing surface tension. Next, ray of light is incident on a surface of glass slab at an angle 45 with the lateral shift produced per thickness is 1 by root 3, then the angle of refraction produced at the incident surface. Again, this is repeated many times. So what we are given is incident at an angle of 45 degree, like let's say like this. So this angle was 45 degree. So when it comes, it will go like this. This is R, this will be R, and it will go at 45 again. So for this particular diagram, the lateral shift per unit thickness, you know that formula, that lateral shift, that is the D, or you call it D, that shift delta x, or you can write, so delta x by t, if you write, it would be sine of I minus r, because delta x is, we write t sine I minus r upon cos of r. So this is given as 1 by root 3. Now sine of I minus r, I is given as 45. So sine of 45 minus r upon cos of r. Now this is a trigonometry question. So what you will have, sine 45 cos r minus cos 45 sine r divided by cos of r. That is 1 by root 3. So now what you are left with, if you do this, you will be left with 1 by root 2 will be common. So what we will be left with, it would be, let's say 1 by root 2, I take it as common, cos r 1 minus, I can write it as 10 r, that is 1 by root 3 I am getting. So 1 minus 10 of r is equal to root of 2 by 3. So 10 of r is 1 minus root of 2 by 3. Now look at this option, this would be this much, 10 inverse 1 minus 2 by root 2 by 3. Next, we have a uniform rod of mass m1 hinged at the upper end as particle m2 moving horizontally strikes at midpoint elastically. If the particle comes to rest after collision, then find the value of m1 by m2. So it comes to rest, okay, and the collision is elastic. So first of all, just applying the angular momentum conservation about the hinge, the original angular momentum is m2v into, let's say midpoint, I can write it as L by 2. That would be, finally it is coming to rest, so that would be I omega. I omega means m1 L square by 12 into final omega, that we can make it out. So from here this omega comes out as what we can make it out, it is ml square by 3, sorry, because it is about the end, I am doing a mistake. So that comes out as 3 m2v upon what I will get 2 m1l. So 3 m2v upon 2 m1l, that is where we are getting. Now because coefficient of restitution is 1 here, so let's say this point velocity must be equals to v here. So this point velocity must be equals to v after collision, because that is coming to rest. So that point's velocity is omega into L by 2, that should be v. So omega comes out as 2L by v. So now you are ready with the thing to do, v by 2L, sorry, the mistake we are doing, v by 2L. 2v by L, sorry, this is 2v by L, let me be patient, yeah. So 2v by L is 3 m2v upon 2 m1L, v goes L goes, v goes L goes, so m1 by m2 here comes out as 3 by 4. So again a nice question on this collision based with rotation. Next one. The circuit has two oppositely connected ideal diodes in parallel. Okay, the current flowing, this is a very easy one for you. This won't conduct, this will conduct, so only this loop is active. 4 plus 2 6, so current is 2 ampere. Go for option C. Next, an ideal gas expands such that Pt square is constant. The coefficient of volume expansion of the gas is. So coefficient of volume expansion, again this is getting repeated. I think this question 1 or 2 days back I did in NEET or JEE Main somewhere. Coefficient of volume expansion, you write it as 1 by V dV by dt, that is what you need to remember. So P I can write as nRT by V into T square is constant, so what we are left with, T cube V to the power minus 1 is going to be constant, or T cube by V, I write it proper, that is more appropriate. T cube by V is constant. So differentiate with respect to T, what we will get, 1 by V 3T square plus T cube into V, 1 by V, that is minus 1 by V square, and this would be dV by dt equal to 0. So what we are left with, take it here, 3T square by V is T cube by V square dV by dt. This goes, this T square 2 power goes, so what we are left with, what we got is 3 by T is equal to 1 by V dV by dt, that is what we are requiring. So answer is 3 by T, go for option C. Next. When velocity, force and time are taken to be fundamental quantities, the dimensional formula will be. So that is a very famous question I remember, is FTV minus 1. So FTV minus 1, this is a, now how to do this? How to do this is what you can do, there are many methods. One is the standard one, take m to be k times v to the power a, f to the power b, t to the power c, and then matching dimension it is m, or you write it in the complete style as m1 l0 t0, vv is what you have, lt minus 1 times a, this is mlt minus 2 times b, this is t times c, and now comparing it you will get, this is one of the method. Another one is just by hit and trial, you know velocity is lt minus 1, f is mlt minus 2, and this time is time. So to get m, f has to be there and its power should be 1. So f power should be 1, this is an all option. Now what you will have, you have to cancel t, t will easily be cancelled if we simply multiply v and t, we can, no, it won't be cancelled. So to cancel it we need to, let's say this is minus 2, so you need plus 2 here, so v has to be inverse. If I do v minus 1 it will be solved, and this l minus 1 will cancel with l. So that is how you can make it out by looking at options also. Next, in a biprism experiment with sodium light, bands of width 0.019 centimeter are observed at 100 centimeter from slit. On introducing a convex lens from the slit between biprism and screen, two images of the slit are seen 0.7 centimeter apart at 100 centimeter distance from the slit. Calculate the wavelength of the sodium. This is a standard question, but it is generally not taught at our level. Generally the students of the 11th 12th are not taught. This is generally taught in the college. You can make a say basically. So what basically happens in this biprism, you have the two prism placed something like that. This is the way the diagram goes, and basically we get two virtual sources here whose separation, let's say we call it d. So we have to find this d. So this d is found by using this, what we say, this lens combinations. So this lens helps us to find this d. How? Finally, by placing that lens, what we do, by placing that lens, we can find out the magnification produced by lens, because it is 70 centimeter slit screen, 30 was that prism, that slit plane. So this 70 by 30 is the magnification, that would be equal to the final height that we have got, let's say d by d. That ratio will give us d by d, not d, the d would be some other variable. So let's say that would be now d dash. D dash is what the gap you have observed, which is what it is given, it is seen at 0.7. So that would be d dash is 0.7, so it would be 0.7 by d, that is the formula that goes. So from here d comes out as 0.3 centimeters, and you can directly say fringe width is equal to lambda d by d. So lambda would be equal to fringe width into d by d. Fringe width is already given to you, so put it 0.0195 centimeters into d, d comes out as this is what we have calculated, 0.3 centimeters upon this 1 meters. So if I do this, 195 into 3, so 195 into 3, 3 5s are 15, 1, 3, 3, 1, 9, 27, 8, and 2, this is 5850 angstrom, that is the value that will come, and again there is no option of 5850 angstrom. So the question, even after doing this, we are not getting a good answer. Again it's a mistake here. Now that is very cruel to us. Next, a source of sound is emitting waves of frequency 100 Hz and observer O are located at some distance from each other. Source is moving with a speed of 19.4 meter per second at an angle of 60 degree with the source observer line. The observer is at rest. Apparent frequency observed by the observer corresponding to the wave emitted by the source at the instant is. So in this case, the component only here would be effective. So F apparent you can directly say would be F naught. Observer it is rest. Source is moving towards it, that is V minus Vs cos 60, which is Vs by 2. So that is 100. V is 330. 330 minus this is half of 19.4 because cos 60 is half, that would be 9.7. So this is 100 into 330 upon this will be 320.3. So it would be greater than 100. Okay, how much greater than 100 you need to find it out. Now this is not a very nice way to do. So what we can do here, we can write it as 100 into it should be what it should be, it would be, let me do my calculation 1. So that what I left with 9.7. So 9.7 means it would be again 0. 970 mean it would be 3. So yes, it would be 103 Hertz. So that is the closest one I can give for. Next, and half a kg block slides from A on a horizontal track with initial speed 3 towards a weightless frictionless spring of length 1, force constant 2. Part AB frictionless, BCS static and coefficient friction 0.2, 0.22. If the distance AB and BD are 2 and 2.14 respectively, the total distance through which the total block moves before it comes to rest. Again, this is a question very common and I have done in the NTA test before. So I am not going to completely solve it. I know answer is 4.24 here. Now how we will do? Till here nothing will change. This is 2 meter easily traveled. Now in traveling this 2.14 meter, if you will find it, you can first find the kinetic energy here or the speed here. Find this kinetic energy at D by taking the work done by friction into account, and if you do this comes out as 0.11 joule. Now let's say spring is compressed by x distance more, so what you will have, the loss in energy 0.11 minus 0.11 would be equal to minus FKD and minus half kx square, work done by spring and work done by friction, that D is also x. So you would solve it quadratic equation, the x value comes from this quadratic as 0.1, and at this equation you will see the spring force is not greater than the static friction force, so it won't move. So distance would be 2 plus 2.14 plus 0.1. So do it. I have done it in some paper, I am not remembering exact paper, that 1 or 2 days back. If you need that you can refer to that. Next, K alpha wavelength emitted by an atom of atomic number Z equal to 11 is lambda. Find the atomic number for an atom that emits K alpha with wavelength 4 lambda. So for this Moseley law, just refer to my 5-minute video, you will find in the playlist, you will get this if you don't know. So what we have, that frequency we say is proportional, root nu is proportional to what we say is root nu is proportional to Z minus 1. So what I can say, 1 upon lambda would be proportional to Z minus 1 whole square. So for the first one it is 1 by lambda, for the second one it is 1 upon 4 lambda. The first one Z is 11, so 11 minus 1, and it would be, let's say what we will have, Z minus 1 whole square. So what we have, 4 is equal to, the 4 we get is equal to what we have, this value 4 is 10 upon Z minus 1 whole square. So 10 upon Z minus 1 is equal to 2, so 10 is equal to 2Z minus 2, so Z is equal to 6. So Z is equal to 6 is the answer here. Next, galvanometer has a resistance 30 ohm connected to a battery of 2 volt with 1970 resistance in series. Full scale deflection of 20 division is obtained. To reduce the deflection to 10, the resistance value must be okay. So it is connected to a battery of EMF 2 volt with 1970 ohm resistor in series. So what is the current? It is resistors. It resistors would be 2 upon 2000. That you can say 1 upon 1000, or you can say 1 milliampere. So to make the deflection half, that means current should be half, so overall resistance should be double. So new resistance plus 30 should be double of this, that is 4000. So new resistance should be 3970 ohms. You can directly go for 3970, that's an easy one. Next, two tangent galvanometers have coils of radii 8 and 6 cm and resistance 8 ohm each. They are connected in parallel with a cell of EMF 4 volt and negligible internal resistance. The deflection produced are 30 and 60 respectively. If A has 2 turns and the number of turns B will be. So what we can directly make the result, you know, is the BH, the tan theta that you make out is the tangent galvanometer, what it uses, tan theta is equal to what we can write it as, that the B produced by wire upon B horizontal. So B horizontal of the earth, it is remaining same, and the B due to wire you write it as mu naught Ni upon 2R at the center of the coil. That is what you root. So for the first, this is 30, so 1030 upon 1060, that is what we can write. BH is going to be same, mu naught is same, 2 is same. So first we have is n in the turn is 2, and the I is what we are given, because resistance is same, I is going to be same, so no need to take that factor. So 2 upon R is what? R is 8 centimeter, so that would be NNB, and radius is 16 centimeter. So what we are, 4 upon NB, that comes out as 1 by 3, you can make it out. So NB comes out as 12 in this particular case. So this is the tangent galvanometer based question. Next, during an adiabat, the pressure of gas is found to be proportional to cube of its amplitude. This is a very common question. P proportional to T cube, right? P is proportional to T by V proportional to T cube, or let it do in PV, that is the more appropriate for us. So P is proportional to T cube, T is proportional to PV, so PV to the cube. So what we get, P square V cube is constant, or PV to the power 3 by 2 is constant. This is an adiabat. Adiabat means gamma is equal to 3 by 2, Cp by Cv, that is equal to 3 by 2, that is 1.50, you can write. Next, the resultant force in micronewtons for the current loop PQRS due to a long current carrying conductor will be, okay. So first of all, due to this, we can make out the forces on these two will cancel up, because if you to take at x and any dx, the forces at both will be in opposite directions, so though it will cancel out. Now it would be attractive, it would be repulsive, but attractive would be more, so we have to do is difference of these two forces. Now attractive force on this would be mu naught I1 I2 upon 2 pi into 2 centimeter, and that would be mu naught I1 I2 upon 2 pi into 10 plus 2, that is 12 centimeter, multiplied by the length of both is 15 centimeter. So that centimeter all automatically cancel out. So mu naught by 2 pi you can write as 2 into 10 to the power minus 7. I1 into I2 is what we have, 20 into 20, that is 400. Now what we are left with, this is 15 by 2 minus 15 by 12. The unit will cancel up, no issue. So it is in micro, if you write, this is 80 into 10 to the power minus 6, and what we are left with in micronewton we are needed now, okay. So this is 15 by 2 minus 15 by 12, so LCM is 12. So this is 16 into 15, 15 into 6, sorry, 90 minus 15, that is 75 by 12. So 75 by 12 in 3 table it is 25, and it is 4, sorry, and this 4 would be 20. So 20 into 25, that is 500 micronewtons, that is what I am getting. So in micronewtons it should be 500, and that is the answer. So it was today's paper. I think that was not at all an easy one, with errors also.